What up, Bucs fans, NFL fans, and betting fans? Welcome to week 17 of Pewter Picks and Props, brought to you by PewterReport.com and our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code Pewter, Pewter, to get a first deposit bonus when you play the Pick'ems over at Underdog Fantasy. I'm your host, Matt Matera from PewterReport.com, aka Matty Diamonds. Holla at your boy. Thank you to everybody for watching the show and tuning in. Because if you are tuning in, you know that I won you a damn good amount of money last week when all of my player props hit in the Bucs win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looking to do that again this week in a crucial matchup for the Bucs as they can clinch the NFC South by beating their hated, bitter rivals, the New Orleans Saints. Also get into a couple of picks around the rest of the NFL as well. But as we always start off with this show, it's the player props for Bucs versus Saints. And you know what? Since I did so well last week, not trying to pat myself on the back too much because I want everyone else around me to win as well. So I didn't necessarily go back to the drawing board. I just went with, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're going to run it until they stop it. And that's why we are starting off this show with Baker Mayfield higher than 236.5 passing yards. It changed what? 2 to 3 yards more than what it was last week. Baker Mayfield is absolutely rolling right now. He is balling. The whole team is feeling the momentum, but Baker in particular is a huge reason why. Offensive coordinator Dave Canales is in his bag. The Saints defense is old. It is not the Saints from 3 or 4 years ago. You had Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua all over the field on Thursday, last Thursday's game, as the Saints got shellacked by the Rams. I know they made a late comeback, but that wasn't because the Saints offense or defense did anything. It was just a little special teams luck there. Baker's going to continue to throw it. The Bucs offense scoring 30 points the last 2 games. I don't see why that's going to stop. So I really like that the Baker passing yards is still relatively very, very low. And if Vegas and the odds makers aren't going to fix it that much, I mean, going 3 more yards, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. So Baker Mayfield, 236.5 passing yards, taking higher on that one. Same type of formula for this next pick. I still can't believe the receiving yards for this player is that low. It's Rachaad White, higher than 22.5 receiving yards. Are you kidding me? Rachaad White, week in and week out, is putting up 35, 45, 55, over and over again, getting targets after targets after targets. You know he's going to get at least one screenplay per game. You know that Baker Mayfield's going to look for him if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin aren't open on any particular play. So, Rachaad White, higher than 22.5 receiving yards. Sign me up. The only thing you got to worry about a little bit is Demario Davis of the Saints. He's still a great linebacker, but Rachaad White is proving it week in and week out. There's no reason to deviate from this pick. You might say, oh, well, you picked Rachaad White a lot. Yeah, because it's winning. And you're getting money because of it. Do you like winning money or do you like losing money? If you like winning money, you will take Rachaad White higher than 22.5 receiving yards. This next one is a system play, looking at the history of his performances as of late against the New Orleans Saints. Chris Godwin, higher than 55.5 receiving yards, is my next pick because you look at the last 4 games that Chris Godwin has played against the New Orleans Saints. And let's not forget, Chris Godwin has picked it up the last 2 games, and he's 108 yards away from 1,000 receiving yards on the season. Who would have thought that the way that this year was going, especially halfway through it? You think the Bucs are going to want to get Chris Godwin the ball? I would imagine so. So anyway, his last 4 games against the New Orleans Saints, 114 yards. That was back in, week 3, week 4 in New Orleans. 114 yards, 63 yards, which would be higher than 55.5. 49 yards and 140. So you might be saying, 49 yards, that's not really that good. That was the game, unfortunately, where Chris Godwin tore his ACL on that hit from the New Orleans Saints. That happened I know it was a couple seasons ago. I believe that happened in the first half, or at least not in the fourth quarter. So it was either in the first half or maybe the third quarter. Either way, 49. He was well on his way to getting over that number. Um, he's had the number of the Saints as of late. So I'm going to take Chris Godwin higher than 55.5 receiving yards. Would not be shocked if he went over 100 today again, or Sunday, I should say, because of the 1,000 yards that is looming over him, and Rachaad White with 1,000 rushing yards. So could be a lot of history for Sunday's game. Got to pick a player on the Saints as well. I really like this wide receiver. He's on my fantasy team. Bucs did a great job limiting him the first time these teams matched up. I don't know if they'll necessarily have the same success this time around. So I'm going to take Chris Olave higher than 5 receptions. He's the best offensive player on the Saints. He surpassed Alvin Kamara, who might not play in this game. Derek Carr, as much as he struggled, and he's been bad this year, and this offense has been bad, Chris Olave has been the one bright part of the New Orleans Saints. So I'll take higher than 5 receptions. I think they try to put him in a couple of situations where they can get him the football, whether it's screens, whether it's slants, things of that nature. 5 receptions for a number 1 wide receiver. You're not going to get that too often. So I will take Chris Olave higher than 5 receptions. So 3 Bucs picks, 1 Saints pick. I really like all of them. This one I'm not putting in my underdog parlay, but if you want to sprinkle a little money on long shots, Yaya Diaby, or as Scott Reynolds likes to say, Yaya Diaby, to record a sack, especially with Shaq Barrett not playing. Yaya's probably going to get a couple more snaps than he normally does, even though he's the starter. Yaya to record a sack, I think, is a good one. And Zion McCollum to record an interception. Derek Carr, very, very susceptible to throwing interceptions. Carlton Davis is out of this game. He's not playing with a concussion, so Zion's going to be starting once again. He came very close against Jacksonville. He had the ball in his hands, and he dropped it in the end zone on that 4th down play late in the game. I think Zion redeems himself off of that play and records an interception. So you can get like plus 650, something like that, on Zion McCollum to record an interception. So I'm not taking that from my underdog parlay or anything like that, but something that you may want to sprinkle a little bit of money on. By the way, you heard me talk about Underdog Fantasy before. Just give everyone the heads up again. If you use the promo code Pewter, that's Pewter, get a first deposit bonus when you play Underdog Fantasy. You make anywhere from 2 to 5 picks, have to choose at least 1 player from each team. So for this example, 1 player from the Bucs, 1 player from the Saints. If you pick 5 players, you can win up to 20 times your money. You're just choosing things like higher or lower on receiving yards or passing touchdowns or whatever the stat may be. They have defensive stats as well. It's a fun way to have even more interest in the game, especially if it's 2 teams that maybe you don't care about. I know Bucs fans obviously care a ton about who the Bucs are playing this week. So check out Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code Pewter, Pewter. Get a first deposit bonus when you play over at Underdog Fantasy. Now, let's talk about Bucs versus, I was about to say Falcons. We'll get to the Falcons in a minute. Bucs versus Saints. The spread is 2.5 in favor of the Bucs. The over-under is 42.5. I think it's going to be a very tight game because this is an elimination game for the Saints. Their backs are against the wall. They have to bring everything that they have because if they lose, they're essentially eliminated from the postseason. I think it's going to be very tight. I do think the Bucs are going to cover the -2.5. They just are absolutely rolling right now, completely rolling. The Saints offense is not terrible, but they struggle hard. So even with the Bucs defense that can allow a lot of yards, the Saints are like the one team that can't take advantage of it. So I see another 30-point performance from the Buccaneers. The Saints defense does not intimidate me at all. They don't get a pass rush that much more. Marshawn Lattimore isn't playing in this game, so we don't get the rivalry between Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore. So I think the Bucs are going to win by 3. Again, very, very close, but I think the Bucs win by 3. And if they can get 30 points, I think the Saints can score at least, 14 points, 17 points, something like that. I have the game going 30-27, which is very, very high. So because of that, I'll take the Bucs -2.5 and the over of 42.5. The over has been hitting left and right for the Bucs. It really shouldn't have hit last week. There was a bogus pass interference. Sorry, not pass interference. There was a bogus roughing the passer call on Devin White that kept the Jaguars drive going. I took the under last week. Under should have hit. It absolutely should have hit, but the over ended up hitting because of a bogus call by the ref. I think the over trend continues for Tampa Bay. And if they win by 3, they'll cover that -2.5. So give me Bucs -2.5 and over 42.5. Rounding out these picks, we're going to go around the NFL. You heard me talk about the Falcons before. Another type of elimination kind of game for the Falcons, traveling to Chicago to play against the Bears. This is my lock of the week. I like the over of 38. The Falcons have been so Jekyll and Hyde with their offense. Like 2 weeks ago, they lost 9-7 to the Panthers. Then they put up 25, 27 points last week. It doesn't. I would prefer if this game was in Atlanta, but I still think in Chicago, the Bears defense can allow a fair amount of points. And let's remember, for the Bears, Justin Fields is trying to play so he doesn't get traded. And then the Bears use their first-round pick on a new quarterback like Caleb Williams or Drake May. So Justin Fields is going to want to ball out as much as he possibly can. The Bears can put up 24, 25 points a game. I see this as a 24-21 type of matchup, so over of 38. This next game, best game of the week, Dolphins at the Ravens. I cannot believe it's a 1 o'clock game on CBS. This should be the Sunday night game or at least the 4:25 game, so those covering other teams at 1 o'clock can watch the 4:25 game. Dolphins, I still feel like they have something to prove, especially going on the road. I know they beat the Cowboys in a great game last week. The Ravens, obviously, no pun intended, are flying high after beating the 49ers. I bet the Ravens +5.5. They are going back from the West Coast to the East Coast, though, and on a shorter day of rest. I can still see the Ravens winning, but +3.5 for a team like the Dolphins that just have a fantastic offense. I know Jalen Waddle isn't playing, but if Tyreek Hill is playing, I mean, he's the guy that gets that offense going. I'll take the Dolphins +3.5. Last one, Packers-Vikings. It's the Sunday night game, so as we ringing in the new year, this game will be on. This game is in Minnesota, so it's indoors. Packers' defense is atrocious. They have weapons on offense, though. The thing for me out of all of this is just the Vikings, their quarterback carousel. Now they're going to a rookie quarterback. I apologize. His name is slipping my mind at the moment, but he's a second-year player. I believe his last name starts with an 8. I'll just look it up real quick because we got the time. But with all of that said, I mean, the Vikings lost to a backup quarterback a couple of weeks ago when they played the Bengals. They allowed tons and tons of points against the Lions last week. So, Jaron Hall, that's who it is. My apologize. So, why is Jaron Hall going to come in and all of a sudden light up the scoreboard for the Vikings? I get that they're the home team. They'll have a little bit of a backing there. Packers have struggled as of late. Their defense sucks, but can they get at least one stop on a rookie quarterback or second-year quarterback, I should say, and let Jordan Love do enough to help the Packers win? I think so. So it's +1. If you want to take them money line, I think that probably makes a little bit more sense. But I'll take the Packers in this one. So my NFL picks again, over in Falcons Bears, Dolphins +3.5 and +1 for the Packers. I got Baker Mayfield higher on the passing yards for my player props, Rachaad White higher, Chris Godwin higher on the receiving yards, Olave higher with his catches. Bucs -2.5 and the over 42.5. That's going to do it for me. Thank you, everybody, for watching the show. Really appreciate it. We'll have one next week. The Bucs make the playoffs. We'll have one for the postseason as well. If you want to follow me on all of my social media, I am at Matty for the _Matera. You can see it in the bottom there. You can also check me out on Instagram. It's just Matty_Matera. So take out the number 4. Please follow us on all of our social media on Pewter Report. It's at Pewter Report on Facebook, Threads, Instagram, and X. Then, of course, our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what picks you might be making for this week's games or for the Bucs game as well. So that's going to do it for me. Hope everybody has a happy new year. Hope you start the new year with more cash in your pocket. So that'll do it for me. Appreciate everyone watching. I know I keep saying that, but I really do love all the fans that do watch this show. Gambling while doing it responsibly is very fun to do, and hope to kind of expand that content in 2024. So until then, for PewterReport.com, shout out Underdog Fantasy. I'm Matt Matera, and let's win some more money.